We've got bits of paper with the notes on it, or if you prefer a device, or if you're at home, you can go to the website which has the notes for today on it, including a link to a quiz. We're going to do a one-question quiz we're going to do in this sermon. And the link to that is also on the paper in the form of a QR code. Don't go there yet. We'll get there as we get to it. We've been exploring this book, which I need you to hear me when I say I don't believe everything in this book is right. It is not the Bible, but it is a book that looks at the research in terms of what builds a healthy and whole and happy life. Turns out, as you look at the research, if you open yourself to the truth and face the reality of what it means to build a healthy, whole and happy life, it looks a lot like what the Bible says, which is why we're looking at it. We're looking at it from another point of view, and I'm finding it helpful just to hear the research, but then hear, okay, what does that mean? If we were to take Jesus' teaching seriously, turns out we'd be living a healthy, happy, whole life. One of the things that Brooks says in the book, I keep forgetting, is it Albert Brooks or Arthur Brooks? Anyway. He makes this statement: without friends, no one can thrive. Without friends, no one can thrive. That's a big statement, particularly, and as we enter into this discussion, I know that we're sort of, again, as we were talking about last week, again this week, we're sort of on sensitive territory, because I don't know anybody, you might be one of them, who would say, I have all the friends I need who really know me and trust me. This is often a point of sensitivity for a lot of people, where they feel like they are not seen and known well enough by enough people. And loneliness is a huge thing, even amongst people in the church. Now, we'll find that as we talk about the importance of friendship, Jesus kind of turns that on its head, and he says, don't go looking for people to see you. Your task, he says, a new command I give you, love one another. As I've loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you're my disciples, if you love one another. He's saying, don't go around looking for people to love you. Start loving other people. And when the church is at its best, they'll be loving you back, but there's no guarantee. He actually goes on and says, my command is this. This is a couple of chapters later. Love each other as I've loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down his life for his friends. So the call for us is to be loving people who are willing to lay down their life for their friends. And as part of that, we should be friend makers. There's disturbing research. This is fairly recent research. 1 in 2 Australians, that's 50%, report that their friendship circles are shrinking. Half of the country says the number of people that they would call friends is diminishing. Nearly 1 in 8 Australians, 12%, report having no close friends at all. That's serious. About 30%, 1 in 3, currently feel a sense of social isolation. And listen to this, only 53% of Australians experience weekly in-person contact with family or friends outside their immediate household. That's 47% of people only have connection with people in their immediate household in a week. So what you're doing by turning up at church and having a cup of coffee afterwards is actually revolutionary. One of the unique things about a church is it's where a bunch of people who don't live in the same house get together because we believe there's more to life than just us. Brooks tells us that there are at least 4 keys to building friends. And again, none of this is rocket science. You'll find if you're to take the Bible seriously, it will head you in these directions. The first one is to know your personality type. This is something that in Jesus' day you didn't fill out quizzes to work out what your personality type was, but what is true is the Bible makes it clear we are different. And that's a gift from God. The differences are a gift from God. One of the ways we're different is all of us exist on a continuum between introvert and extrovert. There are some people who are extreme extroverts and some people who are introverts. But modern science has demonstrated that the way your brain works actually changes depending whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And one of the things we have to face is all introverts and extroverts need friends, but they have 2 different challenges when it comes to having friends. So I don't know where you fit on the continuum. I kind of am, whenever I do one of those quizzes, I'm kind of in the middle, sort of right on the edge, so it's never particularly helpful. So I probably have both challenges. Introverts find it hard to start friendships beyond their comfort zone. So for introverts, just getting the initial planks of a relationship in place is really hard work. Now, Jesus actually calls us out of our comfort zones. In Matthew 5, he says, if you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? If you greet only your brothers, what are you doing more than others? Don't even pagans do that. He's saying, don't just love the people who love you. If you're an introvert, you've actually got to do the work of getting outside of your comfort zone and loving the people who are different to you. And sometimes for introverts, just building one friendship is hard work. Extroverts have a different problem, and that is they'll have lots of connections but no friends. They'll be able to build lots of inch-deep connections, and no one actually gets to know what life is like for them. So Paul says, speaking the truth in love, we grow up. There's something, if you're an extrovert, you need to do the work to not just keep talking, but to stop and say, okay, I need to tell you the truth of who I am. And to listen to the truth of who other people are. So that's the first thing is to understand whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and don't let your chemistry define whether you have friends or not. The second thing you need to do, and I love this one, is you need to find useless friends. Find friends who are absolutely useless, because they're the friends you actually need. Arthur Brooks says, the key to real friendship is a relationship that isn't a stepping stone to something else, but rather is a blessing to pursue for its own sake. One way to do this is to make friends not just outside your workplace, but outside of all your professional and educational networks. Strike up a friendship with someone who truly can do nothing for you, beside care about you and give you good company. The quality to look for is uselessness. He says not worthlessness, we all have those friends too. That requires showing up in places that are unrelated to your worldly ambitions. Interestingly, here, using the research, he says whether it's a house of worship, a bowling league, or a charitable cause unrelated to your work, these are the places where you meet people who might be capable of sharing your loves, but without advancing your career. You see, there was a heresy going around the Christian church that you should have churches with people who are like each other. That's heresy because the church is not meant to be a bunch of people who are like each other. We're meant to be a bunch of people who are unlike each other. And Jesus said, if you're going to put on a party, don't just invite all your friends. He says, don't just invite your brothers or sisters, your relatives or your rich neighbours. If you do, they might invite you back, and so you'll get repaid. When you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you'll be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. He's saying, don't just be friends with people you think you might get some benefit from. Do the work to be friends with people who are useless to you. People who are not a means to an end. One of the sad things for people who got sucked into the Amway stuff or pyramid marketing things is that taught them to use their friends as a means to an economic end. And if you're going to use your friends to a means of it towards an economic end, then they are no longer real friends. It is important to have work colleagues and others who you're working alongside towards an end, but actually the church is meant to be a bunch of people who are not means to an end. That's why we've got to really protect things like it's always a bit sad if someone takes a church database and sends out marketing emails or that kind of thing. That's why we've got to really protect our information. I love, this is when you walk into a church, you should be with a bunch of people who you don't understand. I love that we are wrestling to be one church with the Nepalese congregation, and it's a wrestle. And we had a big discussion with Paul and G1 a couple of weeks ago because they're growing really fast, and we're saying, do you guys want to become a separate church? And they said, no. We know we are part of Citywide and we want to be part of this church family. Knowing that, what that means is when we have a church meeting, we've got to have it interpreted. We've got to be conscious. Sometimes Aussies can do things that offend Nepalese people, and Nepalese people can do things that offend Aussie people. And we've got to work hard. This is what the church is meant to be. We've got to make sure we don't show favouritism. And I wonder for you, how many friends you have. See, our world says, our world keeps us busy, and these are often the first kinds of friends that go missing. The friends that, are useless to you. But actually, I think what you find, the picture of the church when it is at its best is a bunch of people who love people not for what they can get out of them, just because they know they've been loved by Jesus. And that's what the church is meant to be. I love, amongst us, I won't point them out, well, they're not here today, but I just love the way Graham and Louise, pick people up and create space for them, even though that those people create complexity for them. I actually think that's what the church is meant to be. We're meant to be people who put up with people who create complexity for us. And that's difficult, but I think Jesus is a genius. He knows how it works. That as you have people in your life who are not like you, it causes you to grow up and have to face all your own mess. So, first thing, understand your personality type and don't be limited to it. Second thing, find some friends who are useless to you. Third thing, hold your opinions loosely. Hold your opinions loosely. It is sad to say that 1 in 6 Americans have cut off contact with friends and family over politics. 1 in 6 Americans have cut off contact with friends or family over politics. It's nice that in Australia it's not quite as bad as that. I think one of the things I noticed in America is we get training to help us cope with people who are different to us because we follow different football teams. You notice that? In America, a whole city follows the same team, so everyone's sort of on the same bandwagon. In Australia, we have to have Collingwood supporters amongst us. And And so we learn, I think that we do a little bit of training. I don't know if that's part of it. But Brooks says, in one 2016 study, researchers created what they call a humility score. They found that it was negatively associated with depression and anxiety. So they found that the more humble you were, the less likely you were to be depressed and anxious. And it is also positively associated with happiness and life satisfaction. Furthermore, they found that humility buffers the negative impact of stressful life events. The reason isn't something that's complicated. Humble people actually have more real friends because they are more fun to be with. So one of the things we have to come to terms with is you honestly believe, although you might cognitively know it's not true, you honestly believe that the way you see the world is the truth. And then when people who you relate to are seeing the world differently to you, that's difficult. But a humble person is able to relax a little bit and think a little less of themselves and about themselves. In fact, C.S. Lewis said, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. What is humility? It is living from the truth that you're not the center of the universe. God is. He can be trusted. And because your identity is in Him, you don't have to win every argument. You don't have to be right every time. You don't have to prove your worth to other people. You don't have to defend your status to other people. And the more you're able to relax and trust other people that they may see some things that you may not see, the more it's easy to make friends. This is actually the secret sauce of a healthy Christian church. And it's a key theme right across the Bible, but it is something that because we live in the culture we are in, and because we are not always at church and in Bible studies, and in fact, we'll look at how often you get messages from other places later in just a moment, we are deeply shaped by a culture that says it's all about you. We are deeply shaped by a culture that says it's all about you. We've just finished studying 1 Peter that says, God opposes the proud, but shows favour to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. One of the sad things for me as a pastor is just seeing, even in a church family, how many people are feeling pain because they don't feel seen and valued. And what the Bible seems to be saying is, if that's you, don't wait around for somebody to come and see and value you. See what it means for you to see and value other people and watch what happens. Or to put it another way, the Apostle Paul says, don't do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Don't do anything from your own perspective. Rather, in humility, listen to this, value others above yourselves. A healthy church isn't a place that is just here to meet your needs. The paradox of a healthy church is the more you care about others, the more you get your needs met. Because you know ultimately your needs are met in Jesus, not in finding fulfillment through other people. In fact, Paul says, not looking to your own interests. We made a mistake in the Christian church where we tried to make church entertainment. Church is not meant to be entertainment to make you feel good. Church is meant to be a family where you're reminded that Jesus is the center of the universe and the hope is in Him, not in you feeling good. not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationships with each other, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, didn't consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. This is the message that's right at the center of the Gospels, but it's the message that most of us don't want to hear. We want to follow a Jesus that helps us feel good about ourselves and meets all our needs. Well, he says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Not let me come and be your mascot and meet all your fantasies. One of the themes. I keep saying this because for me it's so countercultural. The one thing that Jesus says in every gospel very clearly, if you want to find your life, if you want to make your own life, you want to make your own wishes the purpose of your life, you will actually lose your life. But if you're willing to let go of your own wishes, of your own needs, for Jesus' sake, if you're willing to love other people above yourself for Jesus' sake, then you'll actually, Jesus says, find your life. You find your life in him, not in meeting your own needs. And so we live in a world, this is why I don't know how to, I know I personally am so shaped by the world that I keep falling into thinking I just got to feel better. I've got to make this more about me. I've got to, have a bit more money, have a few more holidays, find a few more people that agree with me. I've got to find, get a better car. It's so easy to fall into things that think my life will be better if. The Bible calls that idolatry. And so the challenge we have is to actually let Jesus be Jesus. Let Jesus be God, and for us to step off the throne and find friends we can love because we know Jesus loves us. This is the secret sauce of the Christian community when it's at its best. But I actually think, as I look around, I think we've still got work to do. I think our church is beautiful. We've still got work to do though, so that we are not just about how do I get my needs met through church, but what does it mean for me to love others? And what does it mean to me to be a humble person? So Brooks says there are 3 keys to practice getting humble. He said the first is admit quickly when you're wrong. Admit quickly when you're wrong. Second is welcome contradiction. Welcome people who think differently than you. And the third is start with smaller stuff. If you're gonna get used to disagreeing with people, maybe start with disagreeing about their footy team before you disagree with them about existential stuff. Although for some people I know the footy team is existential, but this stuff is important, and this is who the church is when it's at its best. It's a bunch of people who love each other and are one despite being really different. And can I say, if you are the kind of person that is really frustrated with church because you're not feeling seen and valued like you want to be, I'd love you to hear the challenge about what does it mean for you to be the kind of person that sees and values others. Church is always going to be full of broken people, and hurting people hurt people. And the more you open yourself to relationship, the only way to be safe from relational pain is not to have relationships. And that's the surest path to hell, I know. Relationships, we are built for relationship. But that means for us, rather than leaning back and waiting for someone else to get it sorted for us, leaning in and loving others who need to be loved. The fourth thing, this is specifically about, he wants to say, we've got to stop watching Disney movies. Got to stop reframing what, this is specifically for people with their marriage partners or who are thinking about relationships. He's saying, we've got to stop reaching for romance, thinking that somehow the prince is going to come and solve all the problems. He says, he uses the word companionate love. He says you've got to swap romance for real love. Romance is a crock. Disney movies are a crock. They always take you up to the wedding day, and you'll notice they never get beyond that. One of the things we see in Genesis as the archetypal marriage between Adam and Eve gets established is God didn't say, look, what we really need is a bit more romance in the world. What Adam really needs is someone to feel more romantic about, to have lovely feelings about. No, he said, what Adam needs is a helper. What we all need is someone who's a bit more of a partner and a friend than with all the birds swirling around and the violins playing in the background and sort of I think sometimes they put like Vaseline on the screen to make it all blurry, just make it all the best love song I've heard, this may surprise you, is from the band U2. It's called A Man and a Woman. It's off the album How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. And I love this lyric. It says, I could never take a chance on losing love to find romance. I could never take a chance on losing love to find romance. He talks about for love and sex and faith and fear and all the things that keep us here in the mysterious distance between a man and a woman. Brooks says, real love between partners makes people happiest when it's committed one-to-one. This is the research talking now, not the Bible. When it's one-to-one emotionally and sexually. It's not popular to say that with some people today, he says, but this life advice is just based on evidence, not on morality, in fact. In 2004, a large survey of American adults found that the happiness-maximising number of sexual partners in the previous year is calculated to be 1. That if you are going to get married, chasing romance and chasing your feeling is not the best way to establish a lasting and happy life. Marriage takes work. In fact, Apostle Paul says, if you can all avoid it, please do. Marriage takes a lot of work, forces you to grow up. I just want to quickly name. Brooks says there are 5 things to be keep conscious of if you're going to try and hang a marriage together. First one is lighten up. Don't try and make everything about everything. It's actually important to be able to have a bit of fun together and for everything not to be so serious. Second, don't talk about me. Stop using me language in a marriage. Use we language. So it's not about you and you did this and I did this, and use we language. He says, and again, this isn't particularly popular these days, but if you're going to hang a marriage together, don't have separate bank accounts. All the research is clear. You bet on the marriage. You bet the house on the marriage. Use conflict, because there will be conflict. Use conflict like exercise to grow, and be faithful. So these are the 5 things. If you're going to try and hang a marriage together, which is like friendship, these are the things to be conscious of. Now, the final building block to friendship is one that has only really been a particular challenge for the last 10, 16 years or so, but it's a massive challenge. So much so I'm going to invite your help to check the data. We're going to chuck up a QR code now. And I'm going to ask you, we might have to go directly to the Mentimeter, Jen, I think. Oh yeah, that'll work. So we're going to do what I want you to do, if you're on an Android phone, I want you to go to the settings and then go to digital wellbeing. Or if you're on an iPhone, I want you to go to the settings and then screen time. And then you'll get a number about how many hours you've been on your phone on average this week. And we're just going to chuck up the Mentimeter, just going to get the data. Now, there's a bunch of people amongst us who aren't regularly on phones, or because we're a slightly older congregation, there'll be a lot of, things might be skewed. But just amongst us, we really want to see if we can do a bit of a tally. Can we chuck the Mentimeter up? So we want to get it, because that'll have the QR code on it as well. And what we will do, what we'll do is just get a sense of for us currently, and if you're playing at home, we'd love you to be part of this as well. Here you go. So I think you can press a button. You've got to press present, I think. Is that presenting? Was it so? Yes, click on start presentation, Jen, up the top there, the little blue thing up there. Yeah, it's coming. There we go. Once we press the start presentation, there we go. There's a QR code. Okay, so you'll notice we just said over 5 hours a day rather than going too much further down there. But for us, whether you're at home or at Lena Valley or Mornington, we would love to get as many people participating in this as possible, just so we get the data. So the question is, how much are you using your phone? And this doesn't include the amount of time you're spending watching TV or the amount of time you're spending on an iPad or anything on your computer. So there may be other screens that are taking your time. But this is just giving us some data. We've got 38 responses so far. You'll notice of the 39 responses we've had, only one person is less than 1 hour a day, which is interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating data. So this is, I'm just going to we'll leave that on the screen just for a moment. Turns out, spending a lot of time on your phone is negatively associated with friendship. One of the challenges I hear from lots of people when it comes to things like dinner together or other things for community building events or spending time with people is I don't have time. I don't have time for stuff. We can probably take this down for a moment. We'll come back to it in a minute. But research has shown that deeper conversations bring more well-being than short communications. Meanwhile, in a recent longitudinal study, teens who texted more often than their peers tended to experience more depression, more anxiety, more aggression, and poorer relationships with their parents. I want to now speak specifically to those of you who are under 25 and those who are over 25 can listen because this may affect you too. There's a generation who has grown up avoiding actually making phone calls and whose primary source of communication is text messages. It's a way. Sadly, our society has shaped the way we interact in a way that avoids relationship. It is hard. It's sometimes scary to make a phone call. It's even scarier to sit down and have a cup of coffee with someone. But what you need to hear is by distancing yourself, by not actually looking into someone's eyes and having a conversation, you are making it harder for yourself to have friends. And you're making it harder for yourself to engage in real relationship. And as a result, that has implications on your mental health. It can be a scary thing to speak to somebody who you don't know. It can be a scarier thing to sit down with someone you're not really comfortable with. But can I encourage you? You will not build the kind of relationships you need unless you put yourself in a place where you actually spend time with people. There's no two ways about it. I love, this is what Jesus did. They called him a glutton and a drunkard because he went to parties all the time with people who were different to him, is what it says in Matthew 11. Hebrews 10 says, let us consider how we can spur each other on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together. A 2021 study revealed that the more face-to-face communication people had with others, the more they felt understood and the more satisfied they were with their relationships. Brooks says, if it's not possible to actually meet with someone, use FaceTime or one of those face-to-face kind of things. And if it's not possible to do that, then just use the phone. And if it's not possible to do that, then text. But only use texts for impersonal or urgent matters. The number of times I've seen relationships blown apart because people are trying to deal with complicated relational things by text or email. You cannot read the intentions of another person on text or email, and you will misread them. Please, if you've got something mean to say to someone, well, don't do it. But if you've got something difficult to say to someone, don't ever do it by email or text. It just doesn't work for a relationship. So all of us have to do the work. Can we just chuck the Mentimeter back up, see how we're going with our scores here, what the data is when it comes to... So there we go. How many hours a day, this is a day, are you on your phone? We've got 2 people less than 1, 17 people between 1 and 3, 12 between 3 and 5, and 12 over 5. So it's just useful to name this stuff and just say, okay, well, this is amongst us. And I think if you were to do this at Rosny College, I think you would have it would be skewed a bit differently, possibly even. But I want to say, if this is true, don't ever tell me you don't have time for relationships. Stop using that excuse. For the majority of us, we have at least an hour a day that you could be having a cup of coffee with someone. Now, relationships are hard work, but what this graph is showing us is we actually do have more time than we think we do. A couple of things. We live in a world that's robbing us of friendship. This whole world is designed to get you to focus on yourself and away from relationship. It's designed to make you anxious about connecting with other people, so to get you to avoid it. You've got to be brave. Brave and do the work to love other people, even if they don't love you. Here at Citywide, we're trying. We do things like dinner together, serving together on rosters and mission things like Anzac Day in the Park, working bees, small groups, kingdom cells, church camps, quiz nights, the mans, morning teas, lunches. We do all this stuff. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you're part of the Lena Valley crew, we're doing lunch at the RSL next Friday. So if you want to come and join us at the RSL, talk to Agnes or anyone and she'll point you in the right direction. We'd love to have as many people. It's why we do that stuff. All that stuff, though, is just training. It's not the real stuff. Like, it's just practice. The real stuff is the relationships. And relationships happen a bit at a time. Often we want the moment when all of a sudden I find the person who's going to be my best friend and sees me and thinks exactly how I think and is really simple to work with and just loves me for who I am. It's just like we want the perfect, romantic relationship. Don't know how to break it to you. It just doesn't work. Relationships happen a bit at a time. If it was able to be like that, then the perfect human didn't need to spend 3 years with his dumb blokes trying to No, but Jesus he invested 3 years of friendship with complicated people in the ups and downs and sharing meals and sharing jokes. Relationships take work. Just as we finish, the band can come up so we can get ready. Just to say, I find it interesting, of all the things Jesus could have prayed for us, of all the things he could have prayed for us, he prayed that we'd be friends. He prayed that the friendships amongst the church would be so different that people outside the church would know there is something different about who he is. What I fear is often we in the church are more shaped by the world than we are by the truth of the gospel. And so we end up being a bit more isolated than his heart for us is to be. And we end up blaming the other people. We go looking for the kind of people who will get us and understand and sing the right songs and think the right thoughts, and it just doesn't work that way. This is Jesus' prayer for us. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. John 17. That's us. That all of them may be one, Father. Just as you're in me and I'm in them, may they also be in us, so the world may believe that you've sent me. I've given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one, I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them even as you've loved me. What Jesus is saying is, I love them, and to the degree they understand my love for them, they'll be able to love each other. And to the degree they're able to love each other, other people go, that's weird. I want a bit of that. And so the call on us isn't to sit back and wait for someone else to finally see us so we can feel seen and accepted and valued. The call on us is to love the people who may not immediately love us back, to make it different, to care. And as you do that, you find you're a friend builder. You find that you are surrounded by friends. Too many of us sit back because we don't think people, think the way we think, or I think Jesus would want to clip us around. No, he probably wouldn't. But he'd say, come on. Your task is to love because you've been loved. Your task is to be a friend because Jesus is your friend. Let's just pray. Jesus, help us, please. This stuff is pretty simple. It's been here in the Bible the whole way through. But too often we are so shaped by the world that says we've got to focus on ourselves. Save us from being full of ourselves and help us be friends for others because you are our friend. We ask this in your name. Amen.